Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, the place for conversations in the adaptive CrossFit space and beyond. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. On today's episode, I'm joined by Brandon Mantz. Brandon is an elite athlete in the seated without hip function division. Brandon's been a consistent force in the adaptive CrossFit community, standing on the podium in third place for the last 4 years in a row. But Brandon's story isn't just about the leaderboard. We dive into this pivot point in his life, a December 2018 skiing accident that resulted in a T6 spinal cord injury. We discuss his transition from a college baseball player to a seated athlete, how he learned to navigate the world through movements like a floor transfer, and his recent experience at a U.S. para track and field talent identification camp. Brandon also shares his advocacy for making adventure sports like mountain biking and Nordic skiing fully accessible for adaptive athletes. And last, we break down Brandon's mantra, which, if you've been around this podcast for a while, you know I love a good mantra. Without further ado, Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. Really stoked to be here. Long time listener, been a fan, and was just waiting for my call.
Well, hey, you got it, man. You got it. I am excited to have you on to talk about everything adaptive fitness and kind of your story. So we were talking before about kind of how you got out to Colorado, where you live now, because that's not where you grew up. You grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So what got you out to Colorado?
Yeah, I was really chasing after my now wife, who also doubles as my handler for most of the competitions. So you might have met her at the games if you've been there before. But so we had met in Milwaukee at a brewery, just out in the wild. She already had a job at Children's Hospital in Denver. So she was moving in like 3 weeks after we met. So we went on like 2 dates, and it was kind of like never know when we'll see each other again. But as things would have it, we kept talking, and it turned into FaceTiming all the time, and then I visited a couple of times, and
that's when you kind of start realizing like, oh, there's something here.
Oh yeah. Then it was like, yeah, we can make this work. And then I had got a promotion in my sales job covering Mountain and Pacific time zones, and they were like, hey, you want to move out west somewhere?
And you're like, funny, you should mention
that. Don't have to ask me twice. Yeah. So then I was able to move out to Denver about a year after we met. But yeah, did kind of long distance for a year at the start of our relationship, which helped a lot, I think, with laying a foundation and just being intentional about communication and everything like that. But
that's 100% true, man. Just gets you guys talking, and like you have to have those quiet moments on the phone where then someone has to like pick it back up again. There are misunderstandings. Oh, dude.
Yeah. And even just like creating time for each other, like with two different like busy schedules of, hey, we're going to FaceTime at 8:00 on Tuesday, or, like setting that up and be intentional. And then like, it's actually direct communication versus if you're living in the same city as somebody, like you might go to a movie. Well, you're not really talking, like you're communicating during that or doing a different activity. And so it worked for us.
That's right. That's, I hadn't thought about it that way. Like I was telling you before we started recording, my wife and I had long distance, a part of that in our relationship, just talking on the phone a lot. And you're right. It makes it harder when you don't have a third sort of source of content to sort of entertain you both, right? Like it is what you two bring to the conversation in those moments that kind of makes it.
Yeah. So I think we really got to know each other well pretty fast.
All right. So this isn't a hair podcast, and this isn't a relationship podcast. This is about athletes. So you're an athlete as well. Before your injury, before anything like that, what was your athletic background like?
Yeah. So I grew up playing all the team sports in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball. I played baseball in college. And then I was kind of transitioning to kind of that college team sport athlete to figuring out what I wanted to do for workouts on my own. I was getting into running. I had done some races, some 5Ks, some half marathons. Actually, 2019, I was going to, that was going to be my first marathon that I was going to sign up for. And yeah, just enjoying more of the individual sports and kind of like the Colorado activities, the skiing, the biking, the hiking, the trail running.
Yeah. Did you play football? You played baseball and
Yeah, football, basketball, and baseball in high
Okay.
school. So I played three sports, was kind of going year round, switching between
What'd you play in
three.
baseball?
Third base, and I pitched a little bit as well. So
Okay.
I went to like a small school in Wisconsin, a Division three. I didn't really have any scholarship offers coming out of high school, so I was able to go there and play right away my freshman year, and got to play for 4 years. And a lot of my teammates are still some of my best friends today.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. So you kind of hinted at it in 2019. You wanted to go run a marathon, and something happened. So where's that kind of pivot point in the story?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we kind of talked about moving out to Colorado. So that was September of 2018. Was out there only for a couple of months, and then in December of 2018, I got paralyzed in a skiing accident up in Breckenridge, Colorado. So it was my first time skiing in Colorado,
Wow.
and first time of the season, kind of early season. Snow's not super great yet. But went up with friends and started slow, just on the green runs, and was kind of getting the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then did some blue runs. Everything was going fine. I was falling here and there, but I was an athlete, right? So I was attacking it.
Yeah.
And then we went up to do one last run, and the previous time before was my best one of the day. I was,
Mm.
smooth sailing all the way down. I was carving up the hill there, and things were going well. And it's always that one more. I learned after the fact. Nobody had told me that you're not supposed to say like we're going to do one more, because that's when bad things always happen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so I learned that the hard way. So I crashed into a trail marker post.
Mm.
Um,
At a hefty
and
speed, at like a good speed.
Yeah, and I don't actually remember any of the accident, which I think is good that my brain kind of blacked it out, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to like really replay it in my head uh, over and over again.
Yeah.
But the whole group I was with, including my now wife, they were ahead of me, and so nobody knew that I was down. Nobody knew that I crashed, because I was kind of bringing up the rear. And so the person that found me down was just the next person down the run, and he was a hand surgeon, so started medical protocol right away, and he came to visit me in the hospital afterwards.
Wow.
So I kind of got his account of what happened, but he said I was conscious. He said I like knew my name and knew where I was and everything like that. And that I just said like I can't feel my legs, and then I started spitting up blood.
Mm.
And he was like, we need to get ski patrol here right away. So they got there super fast, wait for life helicopter ride. And
Which I
they
heard that
actually,
like there were so many things that happened that were like if any little things had been different, it would have been a different outcome. I mean, I've heard that in your stories, or I've read that in some of your stories.
yeah, I really should have died. I had a lot of internal bleeding, like 3 liters of internal bleeding. Usually people don't make it past 2 liters. So it's, 50% over that. Mark, the flight crew, was able to pick me up right from the mountain versus like taking me down on a snowmobile and then going to a helipad somewhere and picking me up there.
Mm-hmm.
I met with the flight crew like a year after my accident as well. So I got like their perspective, and they said that there's maybe like 2 days a year that they can actually pick somebody up like off the mountain,
Yeah.
or like the weather conditions and everything. It's just right, like to be able to do that. And so, yeah, they started like blood transfusions and like relieving some of that like internal bleeding and stuff like right away. And so I might not have made it like if I had to be transported down and then to stuff like that. So yeah, all the things kind of aligned for me to still be here, and I really think I had a second chance at life. And so, being a wheelchair user now and dealing with a disability at times is not always great, but I'd rather be here than not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I admire that perspective because I have no sense of what that is like. But I mean, hearing from you, hearing from Kevin, from Brett, from other people who are seated athletes that are just like, this thing happened and I can't believe I'm here, but I'm here. And there's a purpose and there's a reason. And I mean, does that resonate with you?
Yeah. I think 100%. And like now, kind of being like further out, being 7 years out now, I can see things that I've only done or experienced because of my disability and because of this injury that happened to me. Not like despite it, not overcoming it, but like because I'm a wheelchair user, I can go to the CrossFit Games. Like I had never done CrossFit before. I would I would never go to the able-bodied CrossFit Games like as an elite athlete. Like I said, I had an athletic background, but I was in no terms a CrossFitter or an elite at an elite level in any sense of the means. But yeah, doing some different like consulting around accessibility and some different opportunities and experiences through that is only kind of because of this thing that happened.
And I would imagine too, like, so thinking through my experience, I was not that athletic in high school and college, like barely any, but I ran a little bit like after college where I was like, oh, I'll try like running a little bit, but I never had a goal or anything like that I was really pushing towards. I was just more of like, well, yeah, I should do this to stay healthy. And I wonder if for you, like you were in college and you were like, okay, I got a D, do you say D2 or D3? D3, but that's okay. Yeah, it's still great. Like I'm on a D3 team. I'm doing good. I'm enjoying this, but like there wasn't that thing to kind of push you perhaps to like, okay, let's push harder. Let's see where the limits of my capabilities are, whereas now with CrossFit, para track and field, I believe, right? You went out to see them for a little bit as well. Other stuff like that. Like you're finding through this experience that you've had this ability to push yourself more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah, totally. It was like I was working out because I liked to be active, and I was always kind of like searching for like what was that next thing going to be. I don't know if I would have like stumbled upon CrossFit. Maybe I would have if the injury didn't happen to me. But like I said, I was at that time my goals were a little bit up in the air, and I was kind of getting more into like the running thing. If anything, and like the distance running. So, and I was like a decent runner, but I wasn't like setting any records in running, but that was like the closest thing to a goal that I had. But I think it's super hard for, people. And I've talked to either people that have had like disabilities from birth, and I'm like, wow, that perspective must be like super difficult. And a lot of times those folks that I talk to are like, well, I don't know any different. Like, I think it'd be hard. It would be hard to be you, at the age of 25, have this life-changing thing happen to you, or like something that is like a more of a, degenerative disease where I'm as healthy as I've ever been right now. And some people think that's like weird just when I say that, because I'm still using a wheelchair, but all my other metrics, I'm stronger, I'm fitter, I'm healthier now than I've ever been. And and I can just focus on the things that I do have and the function that like I do have. And that's not declining, like in any way. Like my body just doesn't work below my injury level. Yeah. But it's not getting worse besides, natural aging. But I think it'd be super hard when you have, some kind of diagnosis where your body's like actively trying to fight you.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that because while mine isn't someone actively trying to fight me, I've had it since birth. And it does lead to like atrophy. So it's, and on like half of my body on a not lateral, but like a hemi sense, right? So I almost wish it was like Tom's, where it's like at the hip where you're like, okay, I can build my arms and I can like do things with a barbell. But there's times like post the games, I took time off and it was like, yeah, let's lift a barbell or do pull-ups. And I was like, okay, my right arm really can't pull right now. And that's the limiter, right? Like, so then half your body becomes the limiter. And so it is annoying. It's different. And I think this conversation is helpful because I think there's times when I don't always know how to kind of enter into the conversation with someone who's seated, who had a traumatic experience. Cause I'm like, well, I've just always known it this way.
Yeah. 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 And like, I don't mind talking about it. It's interesting when it's like strangers that come up and they see like you have a physical disability. It's obviously like, I'm using a wheelchair. It's very apparent that I have some sort of disability, and it's annoying when strangers are just like, "What happened to you?" And it's like for me, it's like the worst day of my life, one of the worst days of my life, and so I can always tell when somebody's just trying to like curate their own curiosity, or if they're like actually interested in having a conversation with me and like hearing my story. So I try to give people grace because I didn't have a lot of interactions with people with disabilities before I was injured. And so I try to give people grace and just kind of move through it. But yeah, it's like, what if my response was like, well, why don't you tell me about the worst day of your life? And then we can go from there. But
yeah. But I mean, it is different. I get it though, because it's like, tell me about the worst of your life. Like that'd be the equivalent of saying to me, like, tell me about the hardest time you had in middle school where someone bullied you for being different, it's just like, those were shit days, and you can look back on them now and go, oh, that sucked. But like, now it's great, like now it's really cool, where I'm at. So speaking of you and where you're at now, like, the injury happens, you recover through rehab, you end up at Craig's Hospital, which is where Kevin Ogar was as well, right? When he was recovering from his injury. And then at some point you end up at CrossFit Watchtower. So when did you get into CrossFit or kind of discover CrossFit?
Yeah, it's all Kevin's fault.
Okay. All right. I can, that's the quote for this. That's actually the title of this episode. It's all Kevin's fault. Yeah. That's what we're titling this one.
So I did my rehab at Craig Hospital, and he's kind of like a local legend, around those parts. And once I moved back home, I was out of rehab. I was, trying to figure out how to be active again and try to navigate this world, using a wheelchair. And so I was looking for like gyms to go to other than my apartment gym. And so I had a peer mentor that was like, hey, why don't you check out CrossFit Watchtower? And so then I went in there one day. I had met Kevin, and I had never done CrossFit before. I didn't even really know what to expect when I went in there, but they, started the class. Everybody came in. I think me and my peer mentor were the only two disabled people in the class. Everybody else was standing, and we did the run through on the board, and this was the workout of the day, and here's the seated workout of the day. It's the same stimulus, but here's the movements. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like I was hooked like day one, just because it's so welcoming, so inviting. They met me where I was at. I don't think I could do a pull-up. I couldn't do a floor transfer from the floor to my wheelchair.
Yeah.
I was using super light dumbbells. Like I could barely lift the bar. I was super skinny after like rehab and my accident.
Yeah.
I lost a ton of weight through that whole process. And so I was starting from ground zero, but I'm like, this is the place to do it, because just that welcoming feeling of, we don't see you as any differently. You can participate the same way as everybody else. Like you're not secluded to this own like corner of the gym where only the seated people can work out, or you have to go at a specific time where it's an adaptive class. But every class, every day, there's a seated version of the workout already written. Coaches know how to work with seated athletes, and it's just part of the normal routine.
So how long did it take you to learn a floor transfer? And what was that like the first time you kind of got that?
Yeah, it took me a couple of months. And this is funny because I just taught somebody how to do it. There's a new girl at our gym. She got paralyzed skiing about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And so she was 25 when she got injured.
Wow.
I was 25 when I got injured. She recently moved from the Midwest. And so she came in a couple months ago to CrossFit Watchtower, kind of similar, same way I did. And so I've been working with her now a little bit on teaching her some of the seated movements. And just this last Saturday, after the Saturday class, I was like, "Hey, you want to work on some transfers?" And she was all for it. And I kind of taught her my technique, which was like the same that Kevin taught me when I was kind of first going there. And she nailed it on the first day.
Wow.
She was able to do a full ground to the chair transfer, and she's like, "That's the first time I've ever done that by myself."
What was the emotions like for that?
It is really cool. So back to like when I first got it, and you kind of asked what that emotion was like. It just was like a huge relief for me of like eliminating so many barriers, where now I can go and do whatever and not be scared that if I fall, because falls are going to happen, I still fall. Whether it's, getting too aggressive on a wheelie on a dance floor, or I misjudge dropping off a curb and I bite the dust, or in a workout, I spasm and, I fall in some sort of way. But the fact that I could get back up, like, and knowing I could do that eliminated so much of that like fear. And so it gave me so much confidence. And I could definitely see that like with her as well. It's still new out from injury, still trying to figure things out. And just kind of like that, like relief that, oh man, I don't need somebody with me 24/7. Like it's a huge step towards like independence and like breaking down barriers.
Dude, that's an amazing story. That's so cool that you got to teach somebody that movement that meant so much to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible thing. And like I said, some of those situations where I only am doing now because of like my injury is kind of like that mentor thing and that teaching thing. So now with Jamie, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see her at the CrossFit Games.
Let's go.
In seated one sometime soon. She's picking it up pretty quickly. And so that would be pretty cool. And like the last 5 years, I stopped doing it this school year, but the previous 5 years, I was a middle school leader at my church. So I was helping out with the youth group there with the middle schoolers, and we didn't have any kids that were wheelchair users, but even just being able to share like my perspective and kind of like normalize a disability with them. And like there'd be times where I just kind of like open up the floor, and it was always about like connection in some way. But they were always just super curious, and it's just like, okay, ask whatever questions you want. And they were always super curious about like my CrossFit stuff. And once they found out that I did competitions, and they were always asking about that. So cool,
that's awesome.
Talk to them about that kind of stuff.
I know middle schoolers are also super curious about like things like faith and that kind of stuff. Did they ask you questions about like faith and disability?
Yeah. And really getting down to like some of like the nitty gritty, kind of reevaluate my whole like priorities and like what I thought success looked like. I realized I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in like what I could do and like what I thought life should look like. And just having this life-changing injury, like I kind of reset everything and had a lot of questions, and like deconstructed my faith a lot, and like kind of trying to answer that why question, which I really don't think ever gets answered for a lot of people. But I've seen a lot of purpose now. And like I said, some of the experiences and things that I have, and kind of comes down to like maybe we'll talk about it later. You had it on the list, like the mantra that I kind of go by that kind of came out of this. And one of the first ones is love. And for me, I boiled down my faith to like the most basic like principles of like love God and love your neighbor. And then like that's how I try to approach the world. And kind of the golden rule, like treat people how you want to be treated, and everything else is secondary.
Yeah. So that's a launching point to actually speed run a couple of topics. And one is your desire to be in community with other people. One thing that that you had done some work on is making adventure sports accessible for disabled people, so that you don't have to feel like you're an accessory in the experience, but that you're participating in the experience. Can you tell me about the mountain biking and the Nordic skiing that you've been doing?
Yeah. So I just really enjoyed doing those things because I tried a lot of different adaptive sports like right after I got injured. And the ones I liked the most were the ones that I could do with my wife, with my able-bodied friends, with my other friends with disabilities. And so those are kind of the ones that I liked the most. So I have a handcycle mountain bike. It has an e-assist on it. So like on uphills, I can keep up with anybody pedaling with two legs on their bike. And so just being able to ride side by side with people is really cool. And kind of same with cross country skiing. I can have my own setup. I can go out. We can ski side by side on the trail and kind of have a conversation while doing it, instead of like having some experiences that are like for disabled people only, or like some experiences where it's like, we'll like help you do this, but
you're not actually moving your body. You're just being moved.
Yeah. And those experiences exist for some folks that might not be able to, but I want to push myself to whatever limits, like while I can. Mm-hmm. So I've really enjoyed it.
And I bet that allows you and your partner, your wife, to be able to do that kind of stuff together and stay connected over these things that you guys clearly connected with when you were able-bodied too.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's totally different, and I mean, even still, it's not exactly the same. We get caught up in comparison culture of like seeing friends go on these like really cool vacations and how easy it is to just walk on the beach or do these hiking trips or
go
traveling.
To an old city, a city that just doesn't know what ADA stands for.
Yeah, exactly. But we still figure it out and like to be active side by side. And a couple of years ago, we went to I competed in Barcelona, which was really fun. So spent a couple of days in Barcelona. Then we went to the south of France for a couple of days, and then went to Paris, and then Amsterdam. So kind of did a little bit of a Euro tour there, and accessibility is hit or miss.
Yeah, I can imagine. Brandon, one other cool thing that you're doing, and then we're going to go to a lightning round, is you got invited to a parasport talent identification camp. What was that, and like what was that experience like?
Yeah, I was down at the Elite Olympic Training Facility in Chula Vista, California, so outside San Diego. Down there in Southern California, and they invited 19 athletes that showed success in some other sport to try to like build the team and experience for para track and field, like specifically ramping up towards the 2028 games. So it was the first time that they had ever done anything like that. So it was really cool to be a part of and invited. So just because I had shown success in CrossFit, but they had other athletes that were like weightlifters or powerlifters, or there were some standing dudes with prosthetics that one plays college baseball right now. So he plays Division I baseball with a running blade on. And there's like a visually impaired athlete that's does 400-meter hurdles, and he's running.
Oh my God.
He's running against sighted people.
Oh my God.
Just in college right now, and so yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So just being in that
Wow.
experience, meeting some other like really cool athletes was awesome. It was like ideal days of like they had lodging on site, so they had like kind of suite style dorm rooms. They have like full cafeteria on site with all food, full weight room,
Yeah.
and then so
Jeez.
every day it was wake up, go get breakfast, then head down to the track, kind of training session number one. Then we did like some sort of like testing, and then it's like break for lunch.
And was this your first time ever being in like one of those race chairs?
So I actually didn't get to do the racing chair
Okay.
at
Were you doing
all.
more field?
And yeah, I was actually working on the throwing and field
Okay.
events.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And kind of the reason like I'm not maybe pursuing it going forward, I learned a lot about like the classification, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like what it takes. And there's different classifications for track and a different one for field for seated.
Yeah.
In track, it's just the way the shakedowns are. The classifiers said I have a flicker of ab control,
Hmm.
and so they classified me in the hardest category, basically. So
Okay.
I'd have to go against everybody with full ab control, hip control,
Like Miazga.
like
You were basically put in the
exactly.
same category. Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So that would be a very tough category for
Mm-hmm.
me to try to compete in on the track side. In the field side, there's different categories, and like I got placed like kind of right in the middle.
Okay.
But I'm kind of like too small to be a thrower.
Okay.
So I'd have to bulk up
Like
a
I
lot.
got you. Because you told me you were 6'2" or something like that. So I mean, but you just mean more because you would have long levers, but you just mean more so like you just need to put on more muscle mass.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of
Gotcha.
muscle mass.
Well, I think you know a guy. I think he has the biggest biceps, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd have to get on Kevin's program in order to do that. And it's just challenging. It's a hard thing. It's very specific, and that's why I think I've been good at CrossFit. Is I'm not super good at one specific thing.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just like okay enough at everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, of course, we're generalists. We're not specialists.
Yeah. So that's it would be a different training focus, and that's also why I just love CrossFit. Is I can go for an hour a day, and I can get my training in and my work along with my everyday life and my full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of adaptive equipment is like very minimal, where like almost every other adaptive sport is a lot higher, like barrier to entry. There's specific equipment, there's specific coaches you might need, there's even just the logistics of getting out and doing it and practicing.
Right. Well, and you were telling me too, like a sport like wheelchair basketball, like you need to get 10 disabled people together. That's a limit.
Yeah. To go and kind of practice. So, so yeah, I think my plan is for 2026 is to continue to stick with CrossFit. Okay. I thought about taking a year off actually. But once they announced that it was going to be kind of same site, same location, bringing it all back together with age groups and kind of like the elite games. I'm in for that.
Okay. Can we hop to a lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. So this is going to be a little brief, but what is one goal outside of fitness that you're currently working towards?
One goal outside of fitness. The next thing for us, honestly, is probably starting a family.
Okay.
And so started like taking some steps towards figuring out what that might look like. So,
dude, that's so exciting. We got to stay in a lightning round. I got to keep this brief, but I'm excited for you. That's awesome.
Hopefully that's on the horizon.
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. What is your favorite way to spend a rest day?
Oh, I had a rest day yesterday, and I went to my friend's garage gym,
Wait, what?
and
How does that work out? That
and
doesn't
so
make
it
sense.
wasn't a rest day. So if I actually have to take a rest day, it would be vegging out, watching football on the couch all day.
Okay. Broncos?
I'm a Packers fan.
Okay. Okay.
I stay loyal to my Wisconsin roots, but I cheer for the Broncos since they're the local team out here. Since
Yeah.
they're on the opposite side of the different conferences, so it could be a Packers Broncos Super Bowl this year, maybe.
Maybe. Hey, that would be conflicting. You would have a real war inside yourself on that one. Or you just couldn't lose. Either way you
Right?
win.
Exactly.
Or the other way, either way you lose. Ugh, yikes. Okay. If you had to pick one of your favorite videos that you've been in with Memes for Time, I think of two. One where he's carrying you running through a crowd of people who do not seem to have an idea of what's going on at the CrossFit Games, or the one where he came to 25.3 and then abandoned you and Kevin. Which one would you encourage people to go watch?
I would watch both of them. My favorite one to do was probably the one where he picked me up.
Yeah.
Just because like Roderick is awesome. He does so much for the adaptive community, and he's very comfortable around adaptive athletes. So like we were sitting there spitballing like, hey, what should we do? And he's like, what if I picked you up and threw you over my shoulder like a sandbag? I'm like, I'm pretty heavy, dude. I'm like 190 pounds. I got a lot of like dead weight. But I'm like, he's like, let's try it. And I'm like, I'm game.
All right.
I'm down. I'm down for it. Let's do it. But yeah, it was in the vendor village at the CrossFit Games,
Yeah.
and like we just like went for it, and yeah, nobody else really knew what was going on, and so there was a lot of like concerned faces and bystanders.
Oh yeah. No, he zoomed in on one guy's face and one guy's just like, what is happening right now? Like,
Yeah.
that was crazy. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll link to both of those in the show notes because those were both hilarious videos. Two more questions. If you could pick the music every day at the gym, what are we listening to?
Avicii Radio.
Okay. All right. A man of good taste.
Levels is the best song of all time.
Okay.
That's my pump up song.
I like it. All right. And then fill in the blank. Adaptation has taught me blank.
The first word that comes to mind, if we're doing a one word, is resilience.
Yeah, there it is. Love it. Love it. All right.
Yeah.
That wraps up a phenomenal lightning round. You're going to need that resilience, by the way, when you start a family. Ooh, these kids, they're crazy.
Yeah. I was before my injury, and not to tell another story and drag on too long, so I'll try to make it quick.
Okay.
But I was somebody that like got bothered by any little inconvenience. Anything that went wrong, like would really bother me. And if something didn't go according to plan. And so that was probably one of the biggest changes that I've learned afterwards is just like the amount of resilience that I have, and just like that adaptability like built into my life now. When things don't go to plan, when things don't look the way I think that they should look, if something goes quote unquote wrong, just having that ability to shake it off and continue about my day or week or overcome it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I've got two final questions for you as we wrap up. The first is you have these 4 words that you write on your Instagram posts. They kind of are like the postscript of most of your posts. Can you tell me what the 4 words are and then what they mean to you, kind of as either as individual words or just as a collective?
Yeah. Love, generosity, adventure, and joy. And those were kind of 4 words that I came up with as I was kind of rehabbing through my injury and reevaluating kind of what like my priorities were, what I wanted life to look like. I think I talked a little bit about kind of like that love portion that's tied into my faith and how I want to treat people and how I want to show up in the world. Is if I have the whole world but I don't have love, I have nothing. So
come on now.
Being able to have that love and show up in in that way. So that's number one on the list. Generosity, and this one has molded in a couple of different ways. And I mean, we even talked about this a little bit. Like now, it's showing up with my time and experience to be generous with my experience and my knowledge. And so I've sent videos of how I do transfers, or
Yeah.
there's people that like DM me on Instagram that would be like, hey, how do you pick the barbell up off the ground? How do you get it to your lap? And like I sent out like a recorded video like talking through like how I do that, like with my technique and some different things. So just trying to be generous like with my time and energy and like the experience I do have, like feeling that 7 years into this thing now, and I feel like I got a pretty good life going and really enjoy it. And so number three is adventure. And I've always been an adventurous person, and I never want that to stop. And so whether that's traveling, whether that's trying new activities, adventuring in the outdoors, but also just like having an adventurous spirit and like continuing to learn. That's what that means to me. And I'm constantly like, even in the gym, trying to figure out like new ways to push myself and new ways to move my body. And not just be like, oh, these are the standard movements that I do or see in competition, but here's something that's like super functional. I'm going to try this. Or I'm still trying in my everyday life of how I navigate with a wheelchair. Like I see other people like doing something a certain way, and I'm like, I'm going to try that, because I think a lot of people get stuck in doing something a specific way, or even in their mindset, they get really stuck in a certain mindset pattern.
Yeah.
And I always want to be open and adventurous. So that's what adventure kind of means to me. And then the last one is joy. And to me, that joy is a commitment. It's kind of like a click past happiness, where it's not momentary. Joy to me is a little bit more like long term. So yeah, bad things are going to happen, but can I still have like joy through those bad, challenging experiences and have a joyful life? So love, adventure, generosity, and joy. Not particularly in any order, but I think those kind of still ring true for me and as a mantra.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you use that as a mantra when you're competing? Do you kind of repeat that to yourself, or is it just something that's so ingrained at this point after 7 years that it just kind of is?
Yeah, I think more recently it is something that is, but I have a sign, this like wood crafted kind of piece of artwork that's hanging in our house that I go past it every day. So I see it every day. And so whether I'm necessarily like looking at it or not, it's definitely something I still return to, and in the challenging times or in the good times, like it's still something I kind of like go back to, like to center myself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I needed that in this last year's games. Like I was down bad after day one. I just had nothing left after we started. I think some of the different divisions have maybe a different order, but we started with the rope climb workout, and that absolutely just destroyed me. And then I had nothing. I had no pulling left
to get on the rower and
the complex, or then we had steer. So for me, all three of those really use like my lats and my pulling motion, and I was just hooked after the rope climb and couldn't recover. So I was down pretty bad after day one, and so it took a lot of mental fortitude to come back.
Yeah, and speaking of events being in different orders, do you remember what your last event was? Was it the one with the sandbags and the U-turns, or was it the one with the multi ropes? It was the multi ropes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a 21:15.9, I believe.
Something like that. Ours was so different. I'm trying to, I can't, it was wall balls. We had lunges, which you wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But we had ring dips, wall balls, ring dips, and multi ropes.
Yeah. And the multi ropes went up.
Yep.
Yeah. So you took second on that one and you edged out the guy you needed to edge out by 17 seconds, man. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that podium was tight. I mean, between you, Kai, and Jesus or Jesus, it was tight.
Yeah. It was very tight. But yeah, I was stoked to get third.
And that's how many years in a row have you gotten third now?
4.
Yeah. I don't mean that pejoratively. Third is phenomenal because, as you noted in your Instagram, you are seated high, whether or not we want to kind of, split hairs. You're a T9, right?
T6.
T6. I'm so sorry. I had it written one way or the other, and I think I get the numbers reversed when I talk about the T. But it's high. Like, it's like, where does your sensation stop? Like right below your sternum?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So I have like the tiny bit of like ab control, like right at the top, like right below my sternum. But then, I have no other core below that. So it's one of the hardest things I think in all of like para sports is, are you finding the best or are you finding the least disabled in each category? Yeah. And that goes like kind of like across the board. And even just learning more about like the Paralympics and that, honestly, I think what Wheelwad has done is more fair and closer to equal for everybody than even the Paralympics. So there's got to be lines drawn somewhere. And so, it's really tough. And like specifically for seated, like it's kind of like, what muscle groups do you have?
Yeah.
And like having your core, and I go against Kevin, who's a T11.
Right.
So we're in the same category. Yeah. But you can just see like the way he's able to move versus like without like that core, like the way you're able to move. But then even like in the seated with hip function division, there's guys like my buddy Alex Bowder, who was at the games this year. He's like a T12. So he's got like his full core, but he's got like the tiniest bit of like hip flexor. So he got put in the with hip function division, and he's got to go against somebody like Tom, who can stand up and jump and grab the reins. And Alex is still a wheelchair user. So it's like wherever you draw the lines, like it's going to be challenging. But I'm proud of like not being, being at somewhat of a disadvantage coming in. And I think you got to be part of the solution as well.
100%.
It's a numbers game. And the more people we get into adaptive CrossFit and the more people we get competing, maybe like eventually they can add a division if the numbers are there where that kind of T9 or T10 through like those guys in the with hip function division that are at the kind of the top of that division. Yeah. That can be like its own category. And that's where like there can be a little bit more quote unquote fairness. But I think what Wheelwad's done so far, I'd put it up against any other kind of para sport that's out there.
Yeah. And to paint a picture real quick for any coaches who might be listening to this or people who work with adaptive athletes, this big difference between a T6 and a T11 is like when you, Brandon, try to press overhead, like to get that barbell actually over the quote unquote like midline of your body is incredibly hard. Yeah. And then I saw on Instagram, you're doing behind the neck presses, which is absurd for someone with a T6, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot, like to use my breathing to kind of brace, but whenever the weights get like heavy, that's where like that ab control really comes in. And I just like don't have that. So I found different techniques where like being able to lean back like into something, and like that's where like a press for somebody like me is going to look a little bit different. Like it's not going to be like perfectly over my hips and shoulders.
You're not going to put your head through the window necessarily.
Yeah, because I don't have like that core function to be like have that ability. So yeah, for coaches and stuff like that, it's going to look different. I still try to train to get better and better at that kind of stuff and work on the technique, but it's always a challenge.
Yeah. And thankfully you have your wife who's your handler who can support your chair. You can literally lean on your wife to get those movements done.
Exactly.
So my last question that I like to end with is, if you could go back and talk to a younger version of yourself, so Brandon before the accident, Brandon, maybe in college, the baseball player, the athlete, what would you tell him to encourage him or to maybe prepare him or get him ready for what's coming up in life?
That's a great question. And there's a quote that I like, and it's actually from Kung Fu Panda. And I think it's probably originally from some Chinese proverb, or something before that. But in the movie Kung Fu Panda, the sensei talks to Po, the master, and like one of his quotes is, "We often meet our destiny on the path we take to avoid it." And so that is something that has come to my mind. Like, what if I didn't go skiing that day, just in general?
Yeah.
Maybe my life would look a lot different. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe I would have gotten paralyzed in a different way on that day. Maybe I would have gotten in a car accident. Maybe like there would have been something else. And I just like, so if I went back to like talk to myself, I don't know that I would give myself a heads up. I would, I would say, continue to live your life and like, you'll figure it out, and like trust on the community that you have around you, and keep investing in those people, and know that you don't have to go through anything alone. And that's probably what's been like the most helpful for me throughout my life, pre-injury, post-injury, is having a strong community. And so friends, family, faith community, fitness community, all very important to me. And so trusting in those people, and relying on them to get through it, whether it's something big like this, or right now it's kind of like I said, transitioning into hopefully like starting a family. And so we have a lot of like friends that are kind of on that journey, have been on that journey, or like thinking about that, have had different struggles. And so it's knowing like, okay, whatever aspect of life, like we have a community that we can tackle with.
Yeah, you're not alone. I love that, Brandon. Thanks so much for your mindset, for who you are, for the joy that you brought to this conversation, for the generosity, for the adventure, and for the love. I really appreciated getting to know you a little bit, Brandon.
Yeah, you too, Matt. I appreciate this convo and all the work that you're doing to support adaptive athletes and adaptive CrossFit, and bringing your awesome spin to it.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the podcast. I was struck by Brandon's perspective that he's healthier and fitter now than he was before his injury. I can definitely relate to that. Adaptive CrossFit has given us the ability to push our limitations, see what we're possible of, and do it all within the context of a community. And speaking of community, that was another big thing I took away from Brandon's conversation. Whether it's mentoring new athletes at CrossFit Watchtower or leading middle schoolers at his church, he reminds us that regardless of the challenges we face, we don't have to go through them alone. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or a coach who wants to learn more about the world of adaptive fitness. You can follow Brandon's journey as he prepares for the 2026 CrossFit season and beyond by checking the links in our show notes. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time.